Nico's really, really talented. He's had a pretty good fall camp so far. It's been a lot of ebb and flow for him, ups and downs. But what he does a really good job of is when he makes a bad decision or a couple in a row, like his resilience and respond to that to come up making a good play after that, it shows his maturity. Maybe some days it's fast for him, some days it's not, but he's improving each and every day, and proud of where he's at right now. Garrett's athletic. Y'all all know he can use his legs to help us out. He's really improved with his eyes. The next step we got to do is we got to get him to, not think as much and just react. We have rules of the plays. Sometimes he goes out there and he goes, I think, I thought. And, if we can get those plays eliminated, then he's got a chance to be really good as well. So pretty pleased where we're at. We still got a long way to go, but I think we got 22 days, so that's plenty of time to get to where we need to get to. I'm happy where we're at this point in camp.
Hello, Mountaineer Nation. That was Sean Reagan, our quarterbacks coach at Western University, talking about our young, two talented quarterbacks, 4-star Nico Marchio and Garrett Green. I'm not sure who's going to be the starter yet. Every being of me saying Nico Marchio, just simply because he's taller, can see a line better, maybe a little bit better passer than Garrett Green. Garrett Green's probably a little bit more mobile. Probably should be in the slot receiver position, if you ask me. But anyway, I've got a great show lined up for you guys tonight. We've got a couple of guys in the back room that are going to come in with us, and we're going to preview and predict the Penn State West Virginia showdown coming up on September 16th. First one I'll bring in, Mr. Tim Aiden from Black Shoe Diaries at SB Nation. How you doing, Tim?
Doing good, Joey. Thanks for having me.
Great. I'm glad you could make it with us. We also have the Wolfman, Daryl Wolfley. That's the host of the Wolfman's Call right here on the Voice of College Football. What's going on, Wolfman?
What's up, fellas? How you doing? I'm just drinking some Joe, trying to wake up a little bit, get fired up. It's Penn State. It's WVU. Back in the day, man, well, it used to be a battle, I tell you. Let's see what happens tonight, man. I'm fired up. All right there, Tim. Good to see you, brother.
Likewise.
Wolfman, I went back and found this right here. I had to bring this up for you.
Oh, well, at least I look skinny there with bigger shoulders than a waist. We'll go with that. The shoulders are bigger than the waist, so I got to say I'm all right with that, man. Not bad.
Hey, Wolfman, before we get started, I've got something for you here. I'm going to show you something, and I want you to talk about it. All right, if you don't care, I'm going to bring it up here and let you talk about this. This is some of your supporters for your show over there.
Yeah, I got big news there, Joey and Tim, and the network is where you have these fine establishments and restaurants and bars. And when I look at join the Wolfman's Call, and we have two new ones that are joined today, makes me fired up, and that is Calicinos in Beckley, West Virginia. All right, yep, I'm clapping. And then we have Danny's at Princeton, West Virginia. Danny's all big WVU guys, and we start off here, so that makes 14 now on the network. But you got Archie's in East Carson Street in Pittsburgh, in enemy territory, right there in the heart of the evil empire. We got Archie's with Mike Manning, and then you go to Bridgeport. You have Rob Davis with Brookside Bar and Grill. You got to eat local there, Joey. And then you got Jimbo's Place. We got a double duel at Jimbo's Place. One in Elkins, one in Buchanan. And we went live from Jimbo's to Buchanan for the grand opening this past week. And then you have West Virginia royalty with Jerry Lorenz, Kegler's Sports Bar. It's all about Kegler's, all about WVU game day. And then, of course, you have legends. You got Aaron Gizzy out there at Cheat Lake, this Legends Bar and Grill. And then you got Fairmont. You got Steve Reese in Fairmont and Morgantown. Best barbecue going, man. The Mason Jars Barbecue and More in Fairmont, and the Mason Jars Saloon and Hot Spot in Morgantown. Head down to Taze Valley. Scott Depot, man. You got the Pallet Bar. 24 different craft beers, man. Head to Hinton, West Virginia. Cantrell's, man. Oh, River City Grill and Pub. And then last but certainly not least, Joey and Tim, you got Route 22 Sports Bar up there in Weirton, West Virginia, right on the border. All right, man. Those are the Wolfman's Call, the Sports Network, and they go ahead and they show the show from 4 to 6, and it's great, man. I can't ask for anything better than them going ahead and supporting. It's the network. You find it the voice of college football. And
I noticed the trends. A lot of restaurants and a lot of bars.
Yeah, well,
Wolfman.
hey, I'm not going to say anything. You can make up your own mind about that one. And so they're all excellent establishments, baby.
They are. All right, thanks, Wolfman. Tim, man, it's great for you to join us here. I want to ask you a question because I've been arguing with Michigan and Ohio State fans a whole off season. This is Penn State's year. This is their year, baby. I mean, they have got such a load of talent. Franklin has done a fantastic job up there, I think. Personally, I do. You know, I think he's a proven coach. He proved it at Vanderbilt before he ever even went to Penn State, right? And he's not led you guys wrong yet. Maybe you haven't got over the hump, but this is the year. This is your year, I believe. What do you think, Tim?
Well, it very well could be, but it's good. They're gonna have to show it on the field in order to get a bunch of other people to believe that. If you look at most of the previews, national media, whatever, it's they talk about Michigan, Ohio State, and I mean they do mention Penn State though as like that dark horse team that could spoil the Big Two's party. But there's always some caveat, like they got to go out and beat Ohio State, which they have not done since 2016 when Marcus Allen blocked that field goal attempt and Grant Haley scooped it up and took it back for a touchdown to ultimately win them the game. And, Michigan's been a more even series. Both teams are 3-3 against each other in the last 6 meetings, although Michigan has won the previous 2 meetings. And last year was just absolute kind of letdown of a performance just all around for the team. And then 2 years ago, Penn State, they were one stop away from actually having a 3-game win streak against Michigan, but then Kalen King and another Penn State defender, I don't remember who, ran into each other trying to defend a crossing route. Michigan's tight end, Eric All, catches it and takes it untouched to the house. Michigan goes on to win. So, those have been sticking in the fan base's craw for quite a while. But, you look at, just from what I've been reading about just the quiet confidence of the players at camp, from coaching staff, just everyone who's taken a look inside the program, who's had access, they've all been noting this level of confidence they have not seen in some time, and which kind of matches some of the offseason hype they've been getting as a top 10 team, as a team that can potentially dethrone Michigan from, their back-to-back Big Ten crowns. And if it's going to happen, I'd say, it starts first and foremost with that defense. What Manny Diaz has done, he's coming back for second year. What he did in his first year coming in there, and he really just maximized the talent there. Diaz plays a very, we'll call it an aggressive style. It's, a lot of blitzing, a lot of pressure. It's very high risk, high reward. So yes, you're probably going to give up some big plays, but more big plays than you like to see a defense give up. But the positives outweigh the negatives because they're also going to force more quarterback hurries, get more sacks, force more fumbles, get more interceptions. And, you don't have to ask me, probably ask anyone in the Penn State fan base who followed the team last year. They'll tell you the risks and the rewards very much outweighed the risks. And what they return on defense, the only big losses I would say they've had were PJ Mustipher up front at defensive tackle, and then Jair Brown at safety. But they still return Kalen King and Johnny Dixon at corner. Then the linebacker unit is, a year ago that was a major question mark because Curtis Jacobs was the only known commodity returning. But now you got Abdul Carter on the other side, and then you've got Kobe King man in the middle. And behind them, you've got the staff probably is about probably 2 or 3 other guys that they feel good about throwing in there. And I got to give a shout out to true freshman Tony Rojas. He's a guy he was a highly rated recruit out of Fairfax, Virginia, and came in the winter and bulked up about 26 pounds, but maintained his quickness, his athleticism. I think you're going to hear a whole lot of Tony Rojas's name as we get deeper into the season. He's just that good of an athlete, that good of a player. And he won't be called upon like Abdul Carter was last year to contribute right away, but I think he will factor heavily into the rotation sooner rather than later. And then I think the best, probably my favorite part personally, is that defensive line, especially the edge rushers. You got Chop Robinson, who I think is ready to feast this year. He may command some double teams from opponents, and that frees up things for Adisa Isaac on the other side, or Abdul Carter gets brought down in a blitz from linebacker, or also got Denai Dennis Sutton coming off the bench will be factor heavily into the defensive end rotation. Guy is a absolute freak of an athlete, 6'5". He has real game record potential as well. You also have Zariah Fisher, who missed most of last season because he suffered a ACL injury in the spring, but miraculously managed to come back and actually play a few games down the stretch in November last year. He's now 100% healthy, and he's a kid the coaching staff was pretty high on before his injury last year. So I guess the thing I'm trying to hammer home is there's a ton of depth on this defensive side of the ball, which was very strong last year. And I think they are poised to maybe take it to an even further level this year. For me, as a longtime fan, it gives me a lot of flashbacks to, I'd say, the 1999 defense, which was led by LeVar Arrington and Courtney Brown. I mean,
you're bringing the 99 defense up. Oh, all
yeah,
right.
Well,
all right, now I like it, man. It's okay. Go ahead, keep going.
But yeah, I think
I agree. I mean, your strength this year is definitely your defense is going to be a huge strength of this team.
Oh, not so fast, Joey. There's other parts of this game.
Right.
So
I'm not,
brother.
That's what I was getting ready to say. But I'm not taking nothing away from your offense at all, because you're going to have an awesome offense as well. Hey, you got a good special teams group. You've got everything. You've got all the pieces in place. So,
special teams is there's one area of concern. It might be special teams, but I'm hopeful they can work some things out there. The kicking situation.
So we're talking about. I want to touch on, or not touch on. I want to talk about it pretty much the whole show. The West Virginia Penn State game coming up, first game of the season. I can think of about 125 other teams I'd much rather play first game of the season than Penn State. That's for sure, especially this year. But game set, we got to play it. We're going to match up. Wolfman, how well is our offense match up against Penn State's defense?
Okay, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to kick this back a little bit. You're not going to let him run on for 8 minutes without me saying what I've already evaluated these guys. Okay,
Spit it out,
if you don't
Wolfman.
mind, Tim. First of all, Timmy, let me tell you something. I call everybody with an Emmy. I call Joey Timmy. You know what I mean? That's how I am. But number one is, you know what? You got to beat the team to be the team. And when you think about Michigan and Ohio State, that's in your favor, man, because these guys are all walking around Penn State this, Penn State that. They haven't been, you know what I mean, 2 years, Michigan. I mean, they're just full of themselves right now, man. So that's what you got going there, number one. Number two is you got an offensive line that's a bunch of, besides one redshirt sophomore, you got a bunch of animals out there, all right, that are big dudes. Your left tackle, I can't even say his name. Olumiyawa, whatever. Yeah, whatever it is. I tell you what, man, that dude is a dude that's going to be playing in the first round, maybe the second day if he doesn't finish away. But that guy, he's as good or better than what I've seen coming into this year. He's top dog, and I'm a big Wyatt Milam fan for the Mountaineers too at left tackle. But this guy is the feet. Everything is fantastic. You got to look at Drew Alar, sophomore, man, 6'5", 243 pounds, right? It looks like he's 35 of 60 in his passing last year, 10 game appearances, but not a lot of work. Not a lot of work. And then you got the two running backs. Jaywan Sider's son stayed overnight at my house last night because he's best friends with my son growing up in Morgantown. Jaywan's is a brother of mine at WVU, and he's out there, and you got two running backs. One was 1,000 yards, the other was 910. They're both freshmen. They didn't even know you had that in you, and they came out and performed like a bunch of animals, right? And then to go ahead and you look at the wide receivers, and not that they have a ton of work as you look at them, but they have skills, very good, experience. Good, right? So, I mean, this is just what I'm looking at as an overall general. You got way more detail. I'm not trying to go there. And then I go ahead, I flip it over to the other side. But, man, you guys just lost two defensive linemen that you got. One was over from the Old Dominion. I forgot his name. But he's on Thursday night, right? Yeah, I mean, that is, if there's any issue I can see right now, it would be like, man, they brought him in to bring in that depth right there, right? The D-line.
He was brought in as to be a depth piece.
What's that?
He was brought in to kind of be a depth piece.
Right, exactly. Rotation, right? We're talking rotation. Yeah, so which is so important nowadays. There's no doubt about it. Although the good thing is you don't have a lot of hurries as you have to go against. When I'm talking about the Jets, boom, 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 flying, and wears out those defensive linemen. Not as much as, like, say, Big 12 or something like that, where Texas Tech is trying to run everybody off the field, right? Things like that. But again, your linebackers, my gosh, man, I'll tell you what, that's Joey, that's the strength of the defensive line. That interior unit, man, is going to cause problems. He's talking about Manny Diaz, right? This guy we're going to put the pressure on you, and we're going to make these guys go athletes out here, and they're going to go man coverage. So West Virginia, got to go man. All right, so Joey, I got it in there, all right? I even skipped a lot out of it, so I don't take up all your time. All right, so you say our offensive line, can it handle? Well, I'll tell you what, if you want to challenge the very first game, you got one. All right, I can go ahead and take a look here at the defensive line, and I can tell you right off the bat, man, these dudes right here, you got Beeman, you got Robinson. These are dogs. These are dogs out there. I'm talking DAWGS dogs, man. I'm talking DOGS dogs, like they're lazy. All right, this is going to bring in pressure after the quarterback, and they're going to be going ahead. And like you said, Manny Diaz wants those big pressures. What happens when you go for the gamble, though, right? Sometimes you roll 7, sometimes you roll a snake eye, right? And sometimes it burns you as well. His idea is, we got better athletes. We're going to burn you more than you're going to burn us. That's Manny Diaz. That's his gamble. And we'll see if that's going to work out. Although I do think that they got players and stuff. Listen, I'm going to tell you something. If Penn State's got a year to do this, this is your year. Maybe next year as well, because you got Drew Alar developing. All that good things are coming. But, man, I'll tell you what. Yes, our offensive line is going to be in good preparation. It's the strongest thing we got. Strongest thing we got, along with a good running game that we should have. All right, Cole Taylor at tight end, Traylon Davis at tight end, right there should add to you got Wyatt Milam at left tackle. He's got to be all conference this year, in my opinion. Should be, anyways, if he has a healthy year. And then the problem is that you have to go ahead and go to Brandon Yates at right guard. Well, I like Brandon Yates. He's a big dude. He's 6'5", but you know what? They put him at left tackle for the first 2 years. He's always been a little bit up and down as an offensive lineman. Right? He's not a Zach Frazier at center for sure, who is the best center in the country. Best center in the country is Zach Frazier. Right? Right tackle, Doug Nestor. Always thought he was more of a guard than a tackle, but I can see that the team wants him out there to tackle to be better. You got Brandon Yates, Jaquay Hubbard, I said, at the right guard position. But don't forget, Thomas Remack. Okay, left guard. He was a freshman All-American. He's 6'6". He's 315. He has the strength now. He has the nasty. I like him. He's a little nasty. He's got that little stuff coming out of his neck. You know what I mean? A little bit goober out there, right? He gets a little pissed off at times. You got to like that for an offensive line. Now, here's the deal, right? You got C.J. Donaldson. I already talked about Penn State's running back, so I've already given them credit, right? Obviously, we got two sophomores, by the way, two sophomores. But C.J. Donaldson, how can you deny a guy that had 7 games that looked brilliant out there as a freshman? He was supposed to be a tight end coming into camp last year, right? The big outing at Pitt. And then you got, Jaheim White, the freshman, and all of a sudden, man, he needs to be a slot guy. He's got skills. He needs to be on the field. How do you take a guy like that that's even young, but he's got skills, he has explosive plays? How do you take him off the field, right? Because guess what? You got Justin Jump Cut Johnson. You got Jalen Anderson at running back. So, I mean, you really have. You're talking about the strength of the offensive line going against the strength of the Penn State defensive line, and that's going to be a matchup. And if you can sit there and say who's going to win, well, we're going to find out who's going to win. That's for darn sure. But I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting game because Tim, I don't know if you got to watch very much West Virginia football last year. Maybe you watched the backyard brawl against Pitt. I don't know. But West Virginia had a freshman running back, C.J. Donaldson, recruited as a tight end, and came out total surprise to everybody that he was playing running back against Pitt, starting the game as running back. And he was absolutely amazing. He got hurt just a few games into the season, but he had almost 600 yards when he did get hurt. And I think it was the first half of a game. He had 121 yards in it already when he got hurt. It was just the first half. He's an amazing running back. So we have a lot of talent at West Virginia, including quarterbacks, 4-star quarterback Nico Marchio, who is a great passer, a good scrambler too. Garrett Green, who's probably one of the better scramblers in the country as far as getting out of trouble and making something out of nothing, but not the greatest passer in the world. But he is good. And then we have, like I say, C.J. Donaldson in the backfield. But I'm wondering how many scrambling quarterbacks has this Penn State defense faced that's fast. I'm talking Garrett Green, like for West Virginia, is a really fast guy, great scrambling quarterback. He's probably not Pat White, but he's a great scrambling quarterback and has good vision when he is running the ball. Do you have the guys that can chase him down?
Oh, absolutely. You mentioned scrambling quarterback. First thing that comes to my mind is Talia Tagovailoa, Maryland's quarterback. And I'll say Penn State had him wanting to get on the bus back to College Park after the first drive because after they sacked him near his own end zone, they just absolutely dominated them in the trenches and basically were chasing Talia the entire game, it seemed, and had him running for his life. And they were able to keep him fairly well in check. They ended up shutting out Maryland, for crying out loud. So I don't think, a scramble, I actually did a little research on West Virginia. So Black Shoe Diaries, we do, there's like about 10 of us who help write for this site. We all do a post during the summertime. We call them opponent snapshots. So actually I was assigned the West Virginia snapshot. And so I was familiar with Donaldson, looking at his stats. Seemed like he was really going places with you guys last year before that unfortunate injury. And, he was my offensive player to watch for West Virginia. And so my guess is, I'm sure Wolfman's got plenty of opinions on it, but my guess is West Virginia's offensive coordinator is probably going to try and get that run game going. That's probably their only chance at really keeping themselves in striking distance going into it.
Yeah, we've got to control the clock.
Yeah,
they got to control the clock.
You can control the clock all you want. Okay, that's fine. Right? Control your clock all you want, but you got to be effective. That means you got to move the chains, which effectively does turn into your controlling the clock. But you also got to have some explosive plays. Because if you don't have explosive plays against Penn State and their defense, you don't have a chance. And that means big runs. And that means how is Manny Diaz going to do? How many guys is he going to line up in the box? How many guys if it's Garrett Green, even Nico, because Nico's a scrambler. All right, so no matter who it is, because they're both similar quarterbacks in the fact that they both can be, evasive and extend plays with their legs. So Manny Diaz is what when you go ahead and you want to break that down. I'm answering your question for you, Joey, right off the bat. Manny Diaz, look at that, because Tim, I've been a Division I head football, or not Division I head. I've been a Division I football coach, head football coach for a junior college team. I've been in that for 40 years, I think. So I'm looking at this as a defensive coordinator, which I was. I'm saying, what does they do? Garrett Green, he's a one-trick pony. He either makes the first shot, okay, first read, is if it's open, he's going to throw. If not, he's going to try to run. That's what he does. I could go back to Oklahoma State. I broke it all down. That's what he tried to do. Oklahoma game, that's what he tries to do. So, man, do you think he's going to put a spy on the quarterback? You think he's probably going to, because you got to go man coverage anyways, right? Because you're going to go ahead and you're going to put him out. You're going to say this. If your best thing is the running game, I'm going to try to take that away, load the box up, put the box in there so that you can't sit there and beat us down the box. And I'm going to make your quarterback, either one of them, who has not proven themselves, that because Nico's a freshman and because Garrett is a guy that has not proven himself that he can stand in the pocket and go through his progressions. All right, so again, it's going to be the running. So if you're going to do that, we're going to make you beat us doing what you don't do best. And that's what Manny Diaz is going to do. Would you agree with that, Tim?
I would absolutely agree with that. I think I'm not sure if he'll come out right off the bat and try to stack the box. Maybe he'll try to feel him out a bit. And if they rip off a few big runs early on, which wouldn't surprise me, I could see them making adjustments. And then eventually, this is where I think West Virginia ultimately runs into trouble, is when Penn State's able to slow down the run game and force them to start throwing. Like, first of all, who's he throwing to? They lost their top 4 receivers from last year. I know they got the transfer Devin Carter from NC State. He'll probably be their go-to guy, I would imagine. Of course, the other thing, I don't know if we talked about it yet, but neither Garrett Green or Nico Markell, I don't think they started a game yet. And one of them, they're making a start debut.
Garrett Green did.
He has to, okay, but it's going to be a different. But of course, it's not exactly an ideal opener for either one who have starts. Is going to be at Beaver Stadium at night with 107,000 screaming fans and that ferocious defense just ready to.
Wait a second. We're going to have 10,000 fans there as well, brother. So you might have 97,000 fans right there. I played at Happy Valley. I know that's back when we played, back when there's 80,000. We called it the old battleship. But I'm going to tell you, that was before you were even born, brother. That's how old I am out there playing. And the thing, too, you're right, though, man, is you're right about the quarterbacks. There's no doubt about it, man. That's a definite issue with the lack of experience. But then let's flip that on the other side, because there's got to be a ton of pressure on Drew Allard. I mean, he played in 10 games last year, but I believe he only had total 60 throws, 35 of 60 for the 10 games. You can't tell me he's smoking a lot of reps.
Yeah.
I will say, for a true freshman, that's a lot. That's a good amount of reps. You don't see too many backup quarterbacks get that many reps. It's a testament, I think, to how much the staff respects Drew and wanted to get him, up to speed as much as possible while he spent his 1 year apprenticeship under Sean Clifford.
I understand. Let me ask you this. I'm sorry. Hey, Joey, 1 second. Well, what was the average point spread of Penn State victories? General, just guess. You don't have to come up with exact
off
numbers.
the top of my head. I mean, they only had one close win. That was at Purdue. The rest of them were like double-digit wins. So I would guess
Correct. And there you go, because with Allard getting good reps. But why would you not want a 6'5", 245-pound dude in there as a true freshman? I agree with you. I think he's going to probably be one of the best quarterbacks in the country in the next 2 years. He probably is being. That's what, again, is I'm giving you kudos with that for the credit. But again, he still has not had more. I mean, if you go ahead and look at it, he had 344 yards last year in completions, and Garrett Green had that as a backup to JT Daniels. He started against Oklahoma. He started against Oklahoma State. Or no, he didn't start against Oklahoma. He started against Oklahoma State, excuse me. and then Nico had to finish it because he got hurt. But yeah, go ahead, Timmy. Go ahead, my father, Joey, whatever.
But I just wanted to real quick give a little shout out to our chat. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. If you have any questions for any of these guys, be sure and let us know. But shout out to all you guys. Timothy Green, I see you out there. Thanks for coming in. Jackson Johnson says, "What's up, Mountaineer Nation? How you doing, Jackson?" Cliffhangers here. I love that name. Steve Alawat. Let's go Mountaineers. LW is in here. Thanks for being here. TriStar, Tennessee fans. We got Tennessee fans in here. TriStar, guys. How about that? Talk is Pitt. We got our resident Pitt fan in here with us tonight. That's amazing.
Boy.
Yeah. And I know that he comes on your show quite a bit there, Wolfman. Jay McClanahan, thanks for being here. He says run up the middle. That's what you do right now. Just run up the middle.
Are you sure that's not Don Nalen right there talking that way? Or Joe?
Yeah.
Coach Joe Pa there? Are you sure it's not them? Run up the middle. And a
Run
cloud
up the middle. Yeah. And Charles Peterson, everybody's in there. I missed you. I apologize. I'm not trying to read everybody. Just trying to say hi to all of you and thanks for being here. If you got any questions, be sure and post them in the chat. I'll try to keep watching out for the chat for any questions. If you want to guarantee your question get answered, just send it in a super chat because it highlights it. It shows me that it's there. I'm not asking you to. I'm not saying you have to do that, but if you can super chat or something, that would be great and kind of point the question out to us. All right, so we talked about a little bit about West Virginia having a ball and Penn State's defense, our offense, their defense, great. Well, let's reverse the role here a little bit, Tim. How about talking about your offense a little bit? Wolfman, let's go to our defense. Let's see what we've got matched up and lined up there.
I'm not going to be as excited about that. Go ahead, Debbie.
So, yeah, I guess first of all, not to go off topic, Wolfman, but I'm a little older than you think. I was 8 years old the last time Penn State played West Virginia in 1992, and I vividly remember that being kind of a back and forth game. I think I saw that Penn State ended up winning by a couple touchdowns in the end.
Well, you look good, brother. I'm telling you look good because you don't look that old.
I appreciate that.
Joey does. Joey looks that old.
Yeah, well, Joey is that old. Joey was going to football games before Wolfman was born.
I don't know about that, but anyway,
my first football game was at Old Mountaineer Field, and I'm thinking 74. So
there you go. That is my first Mountaineer football game. It was 81 with my brother Ronnie at Penn State. It was 1986 when I was being recruited there. I almost went to Penn State, Tim. I did. I almost went there, and Coach Tom Bradley was my recruiting. They called him Scrap, Coach Scrap, defensive coordinator. He comes on my show too. Does he come on your show at all? Have you had him yet? You should get him. He loves to talk. Number one. Okay, so number two is he loves to hear his own voice, and he's truly amazing. I do a show on ESPN Radio 970 there in Pittsburgh with Jay Paterno and Coach Tom Bradley. So Coach Jay Paterno, excuse me, for saying that. And we do it. It's called Pigskin Stew, and it's so cool. And but I tell you, got to get those guys, man. If you haven't had them, please do because they are so good at what they do. And Jay Paterno's on the board and all that. So I already know you know all that, but I wanted to give a little bit of a hit for Coach Tom Bradley as well.
Yeah. All right, Tim. So let's break this down.
To get back to the point, yes, the offense. So we were talking about Drew Aller, and I should be clear. I'm not saying he's going to light the world on fire in his first game as a starter. That being said, I think he's going to, the moment is not going to be too big for him. And I will always remember last year, the season opener on the road at Purdue, he got forced into action early in the second half. Sean Clifford, for whatever reason, was on the bench for a little bit. And so he had to go in there. And, the moment was not too big for him. He was steady in the pocket. He checked down to find his open guy. He fired probably what I like to joke is the most beautiful incomplete pass I've ever seen in my life. He's got Tyler Warren, our tight end, just kind of streaking down the sideline. And he's got a guy right behind him being cut, but Drew just floats that ball right into him, like right on the number, just kind of goes through his hands. Like I think maybe Warren himself might have been surprised at how accurate it was, which is maybe why he didn't catch it. But I remember thinking to myself,
You're right. I remember.
This kid has it. Like, you give him a little more seasoning. I can see how he eventually becomes one of the country's best quarterbacks. That being said, I think, you're going to see him, game one. I think you might get a bit of a mixed bag. He'll make some awesome throws, probably some either go for or set up touchdowns, but he'll also make some mind-boggling passes that maybe they get intercepted or just tries to thread the needle into double, triple coverage and has you thinking, I get it. You got the skills, but no need to force it in there, brother. So it's going to be I'm really interested to see how he does in his first career starts. And of course, the running backs, Nick Singleton and Katron Allen, I probably don't need to be talking about them. I'm sure you guys are very familiar at this point. The whole country's familiar with them. But what I do want to mention, they've really built up depth behind those guys. They brought in Trey Potts, who transferred out of Minnesota. He was the backup to Mo Ibrahim in their backfield last year. And I think, Mo had some injury issues I know in the past. So he was actually their starting running back at times too. But he's a kid from Williamsport originally. So he's returning back to his home state. And, he's going to be a very solid number 3 back who can, if Singleton and Allen needs a blow or, if there's any situation, maybe it's short yardage and they just need him to just pick up a few yards, which he's like, it's a very consistent guy. He can get those for you. So, because behind him, you got a couple of true freshmen. One is London Montgomery, who had an ACL tear, unfortunately, last year before his senior year of high school. And but he was pretty highly rated kid out of PA, 4-star kid.
He was.
And yeah. And, if he gets back to 100% health at some point, I think he may eventually showcase why he was so highly rated. But then you got Cam Wallace out of Georgia, who's smaller guy but very quick, good pass catcher too. And apparently he's been a pleasant surprise in camp. So he's probably your number 4 back right now. But it's a loaded running back room, which is led by, of course, Singleton and Allen. Of course, offensive line, Wolfman was raving about Olafus Shanu earlier. You've also got Hunter Norzad will be snapping the ball at center. That's going to be a position shift for him. He was playing around guard last year. And, on the right side of the line, you also got Sal Wormley, Caden Wallace will be starting there. And then as I have Lennon Tangwall will also be on the left side next to Olafus Shanu. And, I'd be amiss if I didn't mention guys like Drew Shelton, JB Nelson. They were forced into starting action last year when injuries hit the O-line, and they were able to, keep that O-line looking fairly decent, even with the injuries. And another guy, Vega Ioane, I can't say his name, Samoan dude, I think. He's from Washington State originally, but just massive dude. He's a guy to keep an eye on as well. So this is like the first time in a long time going into a season where I can say the O-line could be a strength. I mean, for the longest time, it just feels like O-line's one of those positions that we're just hoping can be serviceable. And now it seems like that could be a real strength, which when you got a great pair of running backs behind that, that's a great thing. And of course, helps to keep Drew Aller upright and not running for his life constantly. And then we'll get to receiver in a second, but tight end, I'm pretty bullish on. I think Theo Johnson's his star is gonna shine brighter than ever before. 6'6", just a great blocker and catcher. I think he's definitely gonna go pro after this year. And they got Tyler Warren right behind him, but you may see them. I know Penn State has a tendency to run 2 tight end sets, so you're probably going to see a lot of Johnson and Warren out there at the same time. And behind them, there's a true freshman, Andrew Rappelier. He's a guy who's been very much hyped. He's someone who could potentially maybe crack into the rotation. And Khalil Dinkins, who's a redshirt sophomore, probably could be your number 3 guy behind Warren and Johnson. So I like the tight ends room a lot. Receivers, if you're asking me which group maybe the least bullish on, it's probably the receivers. And that doesn't mean I don't think the receivers are going to have a solid year. It's an unproven commodity outside of Keandre Lambert-Smith, who really seems to be taking on the role, that leadership role as the number 1 receiver. And it sounds like him and Drew have really got a nice rapport down. And so Trey Wallace, he's apparently been flashing quite a bit in camp. He's a guy who actually was starting to get more and more involved in the offense last year. Just a very athletic kid. And he's only I want to say 6 foot, 6'1". The dude can jump. I mean, the dude can dunk a basketball. That's how amazing his jumping ability is. And I think that can translate onto the field if he has to, leap for some catches. And another guy, Omari Evans, who's just a speedster at receiver. Sounds like he's been doing a good job establishing himself as well. He did catch a bomb from Drew last year on the second half of the game against Ohio. And I'll say the one thing I'll take this Penn State offense to the next level, obviously besides having a guy like Drew at quarterback, is having a receivers that can just take the top off a secondary, like that deep threat. That guy who, we had it with Jahan Dotson, had it with KJ Hamler, had it with Chris Godwin, guy who can just absolutely take the top off a defense. And Omar could be that guy. Could also be Dante Cephas, transfer from Kent State. He unfortunately couldn't enroll early because he had to finish up his credits at Kent State in the spring to graduate, and then was able to transfer in. So he got a bit of a late start, but it sounds like he's taken pretty well to the system there. And I think you're gonna see him be an impact player as well. And then there's guys who are trying to fight their way into that rotation who may have a chance, guys like Caden Saunders and Liam Clifford, just to name a couple. And yes, Liam is Sean Clifford's younger brother, for those of you wondering at home. So there is still very much a Clifford dynasty going on at Penn State, maybe not at quarterback, but on the offense. So, but the offense, it's got a lot of potential to really take the country by storm, but that's going to depend on how quickly Drew Auer adapts to being the man, the starter, the leader of that offense, and how well do those receivers step up? And also, does that O-line live up to the hype? Can they live up to that hype like they've been hyped up for all off season long?
All right, Wolfman, let it rip, man. Tell him how the defense is going to shut him down.
All right. First of all, let me just going to say this, okay? Penn State's not Penn State if they don't have running backs, okay? Didn't know that they're going to have 2 freshman running backs that could almost combine for 2,000 yards, especially when their number 1 guy went down. Was this one guy or was there 2 guys last year that went down?
At running back?
Yeah, there was one guy. I forgot his name, but your number 1 went down. You had 2 running backs come in, freshman guys that came up close to 2,000 yards each one.
Kevon Lee. You're thinking of Kevon Lee.
Yeah, and right. So again, looking at their offense, you're right about. I feel the same about your receivers. You just don't know. Kind of like West Virginia's receivers, although Devin Carter I think is more established than any of them. To be quite honest, at NC State, not here at West Virginia. So when you go ahead and you look at that defensively, that offensive line is a really, really big trouble mark for me. Okay, especially with this defensive line. Now, the good news is that they practice against our offensive line in West Virginia. So that's the good news that we have as Mountaineer fans. When you go ahead, you look at it, Eddie Vestanieren, he's 6'3", he's a junior, he's 23. He came across from overseas. He's just starting to figure out what football really is in a lot of ways, and being that more every down player. Because last year he was getting 15 to 20 reps. And what I love about him, he's hey Eddie, I want you to do this. Yes, coach, I'll do it. You want me to stretch like this? Go, yes, coach, I'll stretch like this. He's European, right? And he comes from that military background. He's like, yes, coach, I'll do that. Well, you gotta like that, okay? He's a goon. And a defensive lineman in the middle has got to be a bit of a goon. That is an issue all the way down on the defensive line. And when you take a look at Mike Lockhart, Neil Brown just talked about Mike Lockhart made a great play. Well, he's a transfer from Georgia Tech, and the knock on him was he didn't play every single down. He was lazy, and now he's a redshirt junior. So is he learning not to be lazy? If I take a look at him, he's 6'3", he's 310. Okay, before I looked at him, again, he was a 10 to 15 play guy last year, and now he's got to take the 50 plays. Can he do that? Is he in shape to do that? Is he tough enough to go every down? Because that's been the knock on him. So then you go ahead and go to my favorite guy, and that is Sean Martin, okay, out of Bluefield, West Virginia. He was 4-star coming in here. He's took a couple of years. He's grown every single year. I know his grandfather. He played there. Dave Riley was a Mountaineer, played a running back, played in the NFL, played in the XFL. So he's got good genes. He's legit now. You're talking about him. So, again, this defensive line, you're looking at Eddie. You're looking at Lockhart. You're looking at Sean Martin. Okay, not bad. Let's go. That's okay. We'll go with that. But then what do you look at? You look at what's behind them, man. They can't do the 50, 60 reps. Well, Penn State may get 80 reps. They may decide to say, hey, we're going to run the ball on here because you're light in the can and you have no depth. Why should we go ahead and try to outskill you if we're just going to go ahead and run it? Well, obviously, they're going to throw the ball. They got Drew Allard. They're going to throw the ball. They're going to test him. They want to see what he can do. They're going to do some things they better be prepared for. But the bottom line is, when you got 2 running backs and maybe 3 or 4 in the stables, and you want to see, let's be honest with you, they're not looking at West Virginia like it's Michigan, okay? They're looking at this as a game where they want to play players, they want to play because they think they're going to win. And I know they think they're going to win. And that's because they're number 7 team in the country, and West Virginia is down the top 50. Okay, so let's just go with that right off the bat. That's not saying they're cocky, not saying nothing. Tim, I'm not going in that direction. But what I'm saying is that they think they're going to win, because why shouldn't they? Because when I was 11-0 in West Virginia, we thought we were going to win. Okay, so understand where I'm coming from. But what they're going to do is they're going to try to go ahead and show what they can do, see what their players can do. The unsure stable, right, of the receivers. Is there someone that can go over the top? Are they going to test it out? Drew Allard, let's see that beautiful arm, right? Let's see it. I mean, that's what's going to be. But don't take away the staple. If there's any type of question in this game, if there's any type of things are getting tight, guess what they're going to do? They're going to go double tight end, as Tim said, and they're going to line up, and they're going to try to run down the Mountaineers' throats. And because, you know why? Because they have a defense that has only one. And that's the truth. One that's proven. Okay, you have a little bit of Jalen Thornton. I mean, if you want to get to it, Tim, you can answer this. Mulba, Vladimir. He transferred in from Penn State last year, this offseason. Mulba, do you remember him?
Oh, Fatorma Malba. Yeah, he just kind of got this guy who just, saw the writing on the wall with the depth chart, was getting passed over. So, he.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. But that's our backup. Or that's a guy that would be in a rotation because he's got a big can at 310 pounds. You want guys like that. Now you go ahead, but hey, Lee Koba, middle linebacker. This is a dude I like. So the key is, if the staple of the game is going to be that offensive line running and then having success in the pass, but the staple is going to be Penn State running the ball, going 12 personnel. Okay, can this defensive line keep dudes off of the linebackers? Because if Lee Koba has a chance to do things, he can do things. But if he's going to have a lineman in his face in a second and a half, because we're not covered up because they can block our defensive linemen with one offensive lineman and don't have to double team. That's the question. Do you have to double team these guys? Do you have to combo these guys to go ahead and secure the first level and move up to the second level? That gives when you have a combo and it takes time to secure the first level and move up to the second level, that gives a linebacker some time to see the play and either go left or go right, straight, or whatever he's going to do to go ahead and try to be different. If they're like, man, we got this, secure, boom, all right, I'm right up to the middle linebacker. Lee Coba's only a man. He's going against a 315, 320-pound offensive lineman that's really good. Okay, so you can't put that against him. We don't even know if we have a will linebacker right now. They took Lance Dixon, who was the last I saw.
Penn State or Lance Dixon.
Yes. You know what they're doing with him? They're playing him at spear, the safety spot, the star. This is a guy that could go out as a will linebacker with all in the NFL. He's a weak side linebacker because he's talented. He had 11 tackles or 10 tackles against Minnesota in the bowl game, the last one we went to, and then they turned him into a spear. I don't know. I don't understand it. We'll see how that goes. I'm saying, what are you doing? Put him in there because now you got Favres at will linebacker. They don't even know if they have one because he's from Holland. So now you got a guy from Finland or Eddie, and now you got a guy Favres from Holland, Amsterdam. I mean, like, okay, I understand international, but this is maybe too international of unproven dudes, right? And now you go ahead and go to your quarters. What did Neil Brown say? Okay. Beanie Bishop comes in. That Minnesota last year, he was a part-time player. He probably played about 35%, 40%, all special teams. Okay, but he's now a 6-year guy. But guess what? He's from Western Kentucky. Okay, there's a difference about going, and I'm not ripping on this, but this is just the difference. Going to play at Happy Valley. This guy here, Joey, he knows what Happy Valley is. This guy understands you got to come over to the distractions of Happy Valley. Of that 107,000 people, you got to be able to think above all this stuff coming at you. And I'm not talking about 320-pounders yet that are freaking top in the country. Okay, so all these things, when you go ahead and you have these young kids, Jacoby Spells, what do we got here? He is a sophomore. Okay, he had played last year. Beanie Bishop, and they're competing. Beanie Bishop's a 6-year guy. And Neil Brown's talking about Jacoby Spells there at quarter. You go ahead, you look at Anthony Wilson from Georgia Southern. Okay, Marquise Floyd is from where? I'm trying to think of the FCS school he's from. I'm just drawing a blank, but it's an FCS school. Marquise Floyd, who had the most tackles on the team last year. Okay, so Marquise Floyd. So you're seeing Neil Brown talk Anthony Wilson because guess what? Marcus Floyd is not tackling as well. So you're taking a FCS guy and then a G5 guy. Now you got them at safety, right? Okay, so you got a G5 guy, Beanie Bishop, who did play 1 year at Minnesota, 35% of the reps. And then you got Jacoby Spells, who I think is going to be very good, who last year, Xavier Worthy of Texas ran by him. I don't blame him because he's never seen that kind of speed before because that's just crazy speed. When you bring these guys in, it's not their fault. Marcus Floyd, it's not his fault that he didn't see it at the FCS school he was at because you don't have that kind of speed at FCS schools. Right. You know what I'm saying? So, again, you can't fault these guys with this. And then you go ahead, Andrew Wilson-Lamp and Montre Miller. Montre's from Kent State, so he knows your wide receiver. I forgot that you said about his name from Kent State, who is a very good receiver, by the way. And Montre's – that's stuff. What's that?
Dante Cephas.
Yes, it's Cephas. Thank you. So you go ahead and you look at that, and Montre Miller, he knows him. But then again, you got Andrew Wilson-Lamp, who's just another young guy. So I'm looking at all these safeties, corners, and there's more than they had last year. But is that more to go to Happy Valley? Okay, so that's the problem with the defense. You don't even know who your will linebacker is right now because you took the best one you got and put him at spear. Like he's going to run with a slot receiver at 225. Okay, Lance Dixon. So go out there and cover like a safety. Like he's Kenny Robinson, who's playing with the Steelers right now. Okay, it's not going to happen. Okay, because all you're going to have is zone. And I don't understand it. So, again, this is it. So, what do you have to do? And I'm sorry if I've talked a lot, but I just get fired up. Right? So, this is what I'm saying. Okay, Drew Allard, there's got one chance. If you got to stop the run, that's number one. Okay, got to test it. Got to, like I just said, as Manny Diaz is going to test our quarterbacks, we got to test Drew Allard. Being is that he's young and his first start, maybe it will be too big for him. Probably not. He's used to home games now. I mean, he's used to the big stadium. He's not walking into Happy Valley unprepared because it's his team. It's friendly, right? Okay, they're not out there causing distractions for him. But shut down the run. You have to, because that's a staple, and see if Drew Allard is going to go ahead and beat you. My problem is that's it. You got an unproven wide receiver core, okay, but they got tight ends. We've never covered a tight end in 10 years. Okay, if you got tight ends to throw, we haven't covered one. Okay, we haven't thrown to one either in 10 years. Now we got Cole Taylor out of LSU, and I guess TD, Traylon Davis. Let's throw to him. Let's throw them in. I'm just throwing that in a sidebar because that's my big deal, right? Tight ends. But again, so stop them. And here's the deal. And if Drew Allard's got one thing that's his kryptonite, one thing, Tim, don't get upset, all right? But he's not the most mobile quarterback. If you can go ahead, if you can go ahead and you can put pressure on a 6'5", 245-pound dude and keep hitting him, I think they got one chance, man. Stop the run and blitz the crap out of him because he's young, first time. That would be my game plan because you got to roll the dice and you got to hope that these dudes, Jacoby Smells is better than he was last year. You got to hope that Montre Miller or Andrew Wilson-Lamb is better. Montre Miller against Kent State. So, again, I'm not going to judge him until I see him out there. But you got to hope that Marquise Floyd learned how to tackle. Okay? Yeah. You got to hope that Anthony Wilson from Georgia Southern, because Neil keeps talking about him, but he's only 5'9". Okay? Now, you can say, okay, yeah, Pac-Man was only 5'9". All right. There's been like one Pac-Man in the last 50 years at quarterback that's 5'9", like that. There's only been one. All right? So, again, is when we do these things, there's only been one Doug Flutie at quarterback with 5'10". Okay? There's only been one Drew Brees at 5'11" quarterback, Garrett Green. All right? There's only been one. You don't want to keep going against the odds because guess what? You're going to Happy Valley, and that's a different place to play. Hardest place I've ever played or coached in.
Yeah, I agree. All right, we're about running out of time here, but I'm going to put you guys on the spot, and I'm going to do it.
I let him talk. Don't think I talked all the time. I let them talk.
he can talk more if he was to in this wrap up here. Let's do this though. Here's what I'm thinking. With the rule changes and the clock continuously running now, they're not stopping the clock if you go out of bounds. They're not stopping the clock between plays, things like that. So the clock's going to continuously run. If West Virginia can control the ball and stuff and get some decent runs in there, make some first downs and control the game, they can keep the score down here and have a chance at the end of the game. Now, I want to know your prediction on the outcome of this game, the score prediction. I'll give you mine first. At first, before the rule change, when I seen this game last year, before the rule change came in, I said, oh man, we're probably going to get plastered like 41-14. But with this rule change and knowing that we've got C.J. Donaldson, knowing we've got a scrambling quarterback that can get out of trouble and make some first downs, we can control the clock in this game a little bit better than maybe Penn State thinks we can. So I still think Penn State wins the game, but I'm gonna have to bring the score down to about 27-14, 28-14 maybe, somewhere in that area. I don't think Penn State will clobber us. I think the game will be close going into the fourth quarter, and then Penn State maybe scores a couple in the fourth quarter to take off for the lead. But I think it'll be a good close game going up to the fourth quarter. And I think we will get wore down at that point because you guys just have so much depth compared to us. Tim, give me your thoughts. Give me a score prediction.
So, yeah, I know you guys talking about the rule changes. I know it applies for first down. I don't remember if them saying about the clock still running when they go out of bounds. I think they still might just temporarily stop it like they've been doing, and like what they used to do first downs up until this year. And I think it's maybe to take away 5-6 plays. I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't think we're going to notice it as much as we might be saying we will right now. And I guess it kind of leads into my prediction a little bit. I mean, I'm gonna say Penn State covers, wins it 38-10. That being said, I can see how this game, at least on the scoreboard, it's a close game for a while. Close at halftime. West Virginia's in striking distance, but I just think, I mean, I'm just really high on Penn State's depth and talent, and all due respect to Mountaineer fans, it just don't quite match up in that depth department, especially. And I see Penn State kind of wearing them down in the second half, just pulling away and ultimately covering. It's just going to be, I mean, it's going to be a wild atmosphere. I really wish I could be there. I'm sure Mountaineer fans seem like they travel well. They love the tailgate. So I hope they all have a blast up there, those that are going. It's just nice. I just really didn't think the last time I watched these teams play as a little kid that, I'd be getting closer to middle age the next time they'd be playing each other. But, it's kind of nice to roll around with the old Eastern foes after all this time. So I'm looking forward to it.
Great. All right, Wolfman, tell me what your thoughts are.
Well, let me see here. Oh, my crystal ball. Oh, yes. Anyways, open up. Oh, this is what I see for Mountaineer Nation. I'm not going to go ahead and tell you until I watch the camp, until I can't listen to the players or watch the players, listen to the coaches talk on both sides, talk about the thing. I do believe that Penn State right now is in a better situation than West Virginia. I do believe that West Virginia need to do some things to change. And I talk about change a lot. Change your culture. What did you hear about with Neil Brown talking about being more physical in camps? Okay, being more physical, they're practicing. Well, if you want to play physical, you have to practice physical. And of course, then you start worrying about injuries, but you can't give up the fact. How do you tackle on game day when you don't tackle on Tuesday? When you don't go 11 on 11, when you don't go good on good? How do you get better when you don't go fast on fast? I'm talking about 2 periods of, we're not talking about crazy stuff, but you better know how to tackle. He talks about running through tackles. And our guys weren't good last year at running through tackles, is what he said. And that's what they're working on. And all these things like, woof, poof. Oh, it's telling me right there. You can see it. It's telling me to be more physical. Year 5, and you're trying to talk about being more physical. It's what I've been saying for the last couple of months. That Mountaineers, they need to know. Guess what? James Franklin's already known that. He's already known that, man. You can't sit there and Jim Harbaugh. You can't go against Jim Harbaugh, Michigan, and not understand that you got to go good on good in practice. Because if you want to play like you practice, and you want to go ahead, you want to practice like you play, because that's going to come out on Saturday. And you don't turn it on Friday night and say, "Whoo, man!" I tell you, well, we were going thud on Tuesday, Wednesday. And we were setting up, and my buddy was like, "Hey, don't go too hard on me. Here, we'd lock up here. Oh, all right, we hit thud. Okay." No, man, you got to be boom and, going over this. That's how you understand how to play on Saturday. That's just the way it is. So again, he's talking to me again. Oh, we'll see what happens. If West Virginia learns that, maybe they'll have an opportunity to make it a competitive game to the Lions and take it to them and happy. But we'll have to see. Let's get a couple more weeks in here. Let's see who survives camp. Let's see who stays healthy. Let's see all the things that you have to look at in the last week, Joey. But I'm not going to tell you here in the first week of camp before tomorrow's first scrimmage for the Mountaineers. I can't. I just can't do that for you. Although I will say that Penn State's sitting in a better position right now. Absolutely. Yeah.
I agree.
There's a separation. Okay. Let's not make it doubt. But they still play the game for a reason. And just like the great underdogs have won on those games, never know. Maybe
I look at it this way. It's still a Power 5.
Yeah, maybe he goes out there, trips over the white paint, and he's like, "Oh, my ankle, my big toe hurts." You know what I mean? You have no idea what could happen, right? And I don't wish that upon him whatsoever. But again, the whole thing is are you gonna fight? And that's my only concern with West Virginia. I'm not concerned about the results right now. The season for Neil Brown is not made out by Penn State. Okay, that's not his season. It's where is your team from last year? Where is your team this year? Do you make this game competitive? Listen, if you make this game competitive, whoa, watch out that all of a sudden Duquesne's there, you get a victory there. And even say if you lose that Penn State game, then you go into Pitt. It's at home, man. It's Pitt. Pitt sucks, right? I'm saying sucks. I'm not saying their talent level. I'm saying we don't like them. Okay, so we go out and we fight them hard. We fight, and Penn State thinks Pitt sucks too. So Tim, that's all right because I know you don't like them either. But the thing is that we got a chance because if you got some bad blood in you, and certainly now these boys got something in the game from last year. Okay, they West Virginia blew that game by missed tackles, number one, and two is by an interception right off the dude's hands and into the others for a touchdown. The game's over if they tackle and don't throw that pass. But so now they got bad blood though because they played each other. All right. So now what happens if you're 2-1 and you showed competitiveness against Penn State? What happens if you didn't embarrass yourself at Penn State? And all of a sudden, man, again, all of a sudden, yeah, man, my chest is a little bit bigger, right? You know, my guns look better. Okay, you know, and I'm out there. Oh, it's talking to me right now. I'm telling you, that's how West Virginia has a successful season. But Penn State is a great measuring stick on where you can be, where you want to go. Do you go in there? Do you just give up because it's chaos? I mean chaos now. All right. That stadium is chaos. The student section, am I right, Timmy? Am I right? The student section's still there in the end zone, right?
Oh yeah, it's there. And
the loudest thing I've ever heard. Major Harris was standing right here next to me. Guess what? He couldn't hear me, and I was screaming at him. And then he was screaming at me. We couldn't hear each other. That's the distractions I'm talking about. That's why Happy Valley is so hard to play at because there is a 12th man, and it's real. And then you add a team of the quality of Penn State players. Okay, it's real. And guess what? In that fourth quarter, it gets even more real because you're worn down and worn out, and that's what they got to overcome. And if I say anything else, I'll just keep repeating myself. So I'm done.
All right. Well, guys, that game's coming up in very shortly. I mean, we don't have much longer to wait at all. It's been a long off season. You know, I think what made the off season so long is we all kept waiting on conference realignment to happen. Now it's finally happened, and now we can focus on the games at hand. So looking forward to it. I'm excited about the Penn State game. Hey, it's great to renew this rivalry. It's great to renew this rivalry. I know it's not as big a rivalry as Pitt and Penn State is. It's not as big a rivalry as West Virginia Pitt is, but it is a rivalry game. One that Penn State's unfortunately got the upper hand on more than us. So, you know, I'm looking forward to it.
I was 2-2 against them, man.
That's right,
baby. Oh, that's not true. No. Wait a minute.
Yeah, I think that was the the worst. In 1988, Wolfman.
Yeah.
That halftime score against Penn State. What was Penn State? Penn State was ranked number 15 in the country, I believe. And West Virginia, I don't remember what we were ranked, 5th or 6th. What was a halftime score? It was ridiculous.
I think it was 37, something like that to 10. Something like that. It ended up being 52 to 7 or 10 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
say I don't know. All I know is we spanked them because the play right before the half, B-Dog Hunter Johnson ran. We did 52 draw, right? I went in there and took the nose guard, right, and the center had him all set up. I was the right guard. I went pop right in the ribs, baby, and he fell down and because his legs were tripped. I popped him in the ribs. B-Dog ran a draw right up the middle, 52 yards. The score was 30. Points or 35. I can't remember. But that was
the time-killing draw play you're talking about.
Yeah, man, it's big time. And guess what? The draw play works. They got to bring it back. With just the quarterback, with the running backs, the draw works. It's still especially
when was that Andre Johnson or was that A.B. Brown? That was Eugene Napoleon that did that, wasn't it?
No, that was B-Dog, Andre Johnson in Penn State.
Oh, okay.
All right, it was against Eugene did against Louisville and a couple.
Yeah.
Eugene had 2 of them, but Penn State was B-Dog.
Yeah.
But anyways, hey, that was good talking to you, man. It got me all fired up. I got to deal with Jay Paterno and Coach Bradley, all cocky Penn Staters, man, all season long. We covered Penn State, Pitt, and West Virginia. So I got to deal with them all the time. Love them to death. And they wanted me to come up for the game, and I don't think I'm going to be able to do so because I got to have something else going on. But I will be there to watch that game. And Joey, I'm going to be breaking it down on my show, all the video. Hey, listen, this week we got all Penn State RPOs from last season, man. Oh, don't tell them I told you that, Tim. But we got all RPOs, so we're going to educate the Wolfman's Call show all week long. RPO, what does that stand for, Joey?
Run pass option.
There you go, brother, man. I'm out of here.
All right, well, man, Tim, thank you so much for being here. Hey, Tim, tell everybody one more time where to find you at.
Yeah, you find my work and all my other wonderful colleagues' work, blackshoediaries.com. It's SB Nation's Penn State site. I host the Penn State postgame show during the season. And actually, I'm going to be hosting on this channel, Mark Rogers, college football channel, Sunday night, 8:00 Eastern time. Be debuting a new co-host, Patrick Kerbler. Marty Leap, my old colleagues, moved on to the Penn State Rivals site. But, I think Patrick will be a fine co-host as well with me. But we'll be previewing the whole 2023 schedule Sunday night. So if you're curious to see things from a Penn State perspective, you can check us out on the Voice of College Football channel, or we're also on the SG1 Big Ten channel, which is a sub-channel of Voice of College Football. So,
hey, who's your rival?
Well, it's nice to have you here, man. I tell you.
What's that?
Who's your rival right now? Who's your rival?
Penn State's unrivaled, man. That's our slogan.
Who's your rival though right now in the Big Ten?
In the Big Ten, I mean, you asked me, it's Ohio State. I mean, just because of the whole shared border thing. I know Maryland tried to claim us as a rival when they first joined the Big Ten, but
no, that's not happening.
If it's a team, it'd be Ohio State.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, guys. All right, Joey. Thank you, Tim. Great to meet you.
Thank you, Wolfman.
Good stuff. I'll
Tim,
see you.
thank you. Everybody in the chat, we appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for coming in with us. Be sure and go over to the Penn State channel right here on the Voice of College Football. Sub it up so you can watch Tim there each week. Tim, thanks a lot for being here, buddy. We appreciate having you, and it was great, man.
Oh, sure thing, Joey. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Everybody in the chat, we'll see you later. Thanks for coming in.